For the first time I can remember, my mother said, "You're going to college." So first thing I said is, you know, I'm really good at math. I think I want to be a CPA. Well, my parents said, can't be a CPA, I don't make any money. So, okay, so you know, next thing along I said, well, you know what, I'm pretty good at writing. I think I want to be a writer. And then they really threw up their hands and they said, writers don't make any money, they wait on tables. So, you know, one night they're watching the news, and this is before the news was anything really big. There was a 15-minute local newscast. This goes back a ways. And I said, see what that guy's doing? He's reading the news. I want to do that. Then they really flipped out. You know how hard it is to get on television? Well, in the end, I was a TV news reporter where I was on television, and I was writing, and I was the financial news reporter. So I got all three. I wasn't in the CPA, but I did the math, I did the writing, I did the TV. Every job I ever got came out of Indiana University. Didn't come out, I mean, my father wasn't going to get me a job, but what's the great leveler of this country? It's education. And so because of that, I was able to, you know, get a job here and get a job there, and you don't start out at the top. I had an internship in Louisville, Kentucky. I had another internship one summer in Cleveland, Ohio. I worked in Louisville, Detroit, Miami, Cleveland, finally Washington, D.C. But that's kind of like a minor league baseball route to the big leagues. You know, I wanted to come to Washington, D.C. and stand on the White House lawn and bitch about the president or the Congress, you know. And so, but when I was coming up, there was nobody to look up to. There was no Greek that was, I mean, there was Ike Pappas. I remember Ike Pappas. I don't know if he's long since retired and passed away. But I remember attending some event once, and a lady came over to me with her 3 kids, and she said, "We saw you reporting from the White House, from the Supreme Court one day." And she said, that's a big Greek reporter there. And so, you know, that was an inspiration. I mean, that's cool. It also reminded me of when I was in college, and I was a junior, and it was May of my junior year in college, and they were having auditions for summer interns. And I had been in the broadcast, taking the broadcast courses, and I had one more year to go in school. And so I thought, well, I'll go audition. Well, they asked me to do an on-camera thing, and they told me, this is your story, write it, and then do it, and do a stand-up like you see live on television every day. Well, I blew that really bad, terrible. I was mostly a writer-producer at that point, not so much a talent on camera. So I blew it, and the guy from Avco Broadcasting said, why don't you think about another career? When people tell you, no, you can't do this, or no, you can't do this, or everything's hard, anything that's really worth getting is not going to be easy to get. The hard jobs require, you know, your education and require perseverance, and you can't accept no for an answer. I was working for ABC News. This is 1979. The Middle East was in dispute. See, nothing's changed much. Egypt and Israel had been through, I don't know how many wars, you know. There'd been one in 67, well, there'd been, the last two were 67 and 73. And so Jimmy Carter decides we're going to have some peace talks at Camp David in Maryland. So he brings in Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin from Israel and Egypt, and they have a meeting. They're going to have a meeting. It's a big summit. The whole world's going to be there covering it. I happened to be working for ABC News at the time. I was an assignment editor at the Washington Bureau. And so they decided they assigned me to cover Camp David as the assignment manager on the scene at Camp David, where there would be 4 or 5 reporters and camera crews and other producers, et cetera, et cetera. And my job was just to make sure that when Barbara Walters wanted a camera crew, that she got one. When Sam Donaldson wanted a camera crew, that he got one. So the summit's supposed to start on a Saturday. And I'm supposed to arrive on a Saturday morning. Well, I arrive on Friday morning just to look around. I'd never been there. I wanted to see where our hotel was, where the events were going to be, where the roads were, etc. And so I'm looking around, and there's only one restaurant in town at the time. It's the Cozy Inn. And so off in the distance, I see 2 helicopters. And I'm wondering, what the hell's going on? Well, they come down and they land in the field next to the parking lot. Out jumps Sam Donaldson, chief White House correspondent, and my boss. He looks at me like, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm just checking it out. Well, I look like a genius. Because he says, it's starting a day early. You're going to work right now. Yeah. This was about making my own game. How was I going to be distinguishing myself from it? And I just wanted to be there just to check things out. And by doing so, actually it led to a promotion. That whole weekend led to a promotion. But it was one of those things like, you don't want to just do the minimum. When I was an intern at the University, I was an intern at WAVE in Louisville, Kentucky one summer. And so I'm from Chicago. I'm living in Louisville. I'm 20. So I got nothing to do except be at the office, be in the news department all day, all night. I mean, what else am I going to do? Go home and what? Watch? I don't even have a TV. So I'm there day and night. And one night, the boss comes up to me. He's leaving at 6 o'clock, and I'm hanging around. He said, Spiro, I don't know whether to pay you overtime or charge you rent. That's the kind of impression you want to leave. One night, this was a 50,000 watt clear channel radio station, which is a big deal. My parents could actually hear the station in Louisville at night because it was the clear channel station. So I'm just hanging around, and there was a big story happens, and the radio announcer is at lunch. Thank you very much. And they said, Spiro, you got to go do this broadcast. You got to read the bulletin. And it's like, this is 50. I mean, I've been broadcasting on a little radio station in college, and now half the country's going to hear this. But I was there at the right time, just hanging around. That's what you got to do if you've graduated, and there's nothing coming along. You want to make really good, productive use of that time, and this is the best city in the world for that, because nobody's ever going to look at your public service, working for a congressman, working for a senator, even if it's an internship. And he mentioned the think tanks. Yeah, there's lots of people who come here, but this is the best place. I mean, whatever your future career intention is, the fact that you did some time on the Hill, or you did some time at some agency, it's absolutely, oh really? Because that's really it. I wish my son or daughter would have done something like that on the Hill, because it's a great education. But let's remember, everybody has a state capital. There are local politicians. There are city politicians. Find a way to get some public service in there, and you know what? They love fresh faces. They really do. And that might be, again, if you did 6 months or a year, it really doesn't matter whether you're getting coffee. It really doesn't. I mean, the Hill not only has the congressional offices for each individual, but every committee has staff. Every committee needs somebody to go get the coffee. You want to be that guy to go get the coffee, because you know what? They've got a general counsel you're going to be getting the coffee guy for. He's going to be writing legislation. You've got all kinds of people who are working those committees, who are policy analysts, and all of a sudden, you might be an international affairs major, and you get hooked up with an internship. You're going to get the coffee for, the House or Senate International Affairs Committee, or any one of the subcommittees. Man, you're there. You get. I mean, and you know what? When I go to hearings, I cover hearings for clients. There are people like you all over the place. They're in there taking notes. And that's one of the great things about Washington, is there's a lot of that opportunity here. Again, there's lots of people competing for it. Are there any easy places to get? Right. No, there aren't. You know, it goes back to what my parents said. Well, that's hard to do. You don't make any money at that. You can't do that. You know, and you just got to say, well, you know, I got to go with my path. Eventually, you want a job that's not really a job. That you would do it if they just fed you. Because doing it, you know, becoming a hedge fund manager, you better like being a hedge fund manager, because making that $350,000, $500,000 a year, whatever, and your $150,000 bonus that you're getting on Wall Street, you know, it will never make you happy. Never. Not happening. I don't care how much money you're making, you know, that will never. So you want something where it's an avocation. God, I love doing this. And what I do now, I love doing this.